Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order our regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 19th, 2012. Will you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And welcome. Roll call, Sylvia.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
Council President Grant.
Here.
Councilor Henderson.
Here.
Councilor Folsom.
Here.
Councilor Butterfield is absent. Councilor Langer.
Here.
Councilor Clark.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. We have one item on our consent agenda this evening.
I'll move consent.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Thank you, Councilor. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Council. Next, we have presentations, an opportunity to recognize some wonderful members of our community. First, could Jerry and Dottie Eady come forward and sit on the dais? Today, it is with great appreciation and honor that we're able to recognize a wonderful family in our community and an important program in our community. Jerry and Dottie are the directors of Helping Hands, our nonprofit food bank for our community. You've been working at it, and you can give me the numbers, because I don't even know the numbers for sure, but you've been the director for several years now, taking over from Velma Woolley after her many years of service, and it was great for everything that she did, and we were able to give her recognition a couple years ago. But I'm sure she's still involved to a certain extent in keeping tabs on your guys' performance. But during this recession, the needs for families and children have certainly gone up in our community. And the generosity of our community has stepped up through multiple directions or sources of food and donations through school fundraisers, food drives, the Give and Gobble, wonderful program, and then just the generosity in the community. Last I'd heard, it's upwards of 80 families, and I'll let you update these numbers, that you help out per month. And then you guys started a backpack program for children in our community, which is just fantastic. And then you're even stretching out beyond the borders of Sherwood, because the need is certainly so great. So Jerry and Dottie, you want to expand on what I've said, if you would, for a minute, for us. And just make sure the button is up. Is
that it?
Perfect.
Oh, wow. Helping Hands has been in the Sherwood United Methodist Church for approximately 25 years, and we are so thankful that Velma kept it going for so many years. And as you know, she's involved now with her aging parents and is spending a lot of her time in Yakima. And this has been going on for some time, so we've been able to step in and help Velma out. And Velma's basically retired and I think she's still going to be active at Christmas time in toys and gifts for youngsters in in our town that need it. But I will update your numbers. For May, last month, we did 118 families.
Wow.
And that's approximately 385 people when you take the number of people in those families. And did food boxes for all of them. In addition to that, this year this is really the second year that we've done the backpack program. And we do 104 kids a week. And we provide lunch and breakfast and lunch on Saturday and Sunday. So we do 400 meals a week.
Wow. And we explain, folks, it's very anonymous. People don't know because there's not like this is a Helping Hands backpack. But youth are identified, and then at the end of the day on Friday, there's backpacks for them that are given to them, and they take them home.
Yeah, we work through the 4 counselors at the elementary schools, and confidentiality is so important that we do not know the names of the family. The counselors do. They just tell us that it's family 1 or 3 or 4, and then we make sure that every youngster in the family has got food. You know, you cannot send a backpack home with a kid, an 8-year-old, if he's got a 13-year-old brother that's hungry, because he's not going to end up with the food, or he's going to try to eat it all on the school bus before he gets home, or some other sad thing will happen. So we feed all the children in the family. Dottie and I go out and we pillage the Goodwill stores for backpacks. They're all used. They're all different, so they're non-identifiable. We think that we could probably go and, to Nike, and they would give us 60 backpacks, and they'd all be yellow, and they'd all have a swish, and every child would say, "There's the kid with the food," Right. But so we do it all with used backpacks, and again, make sure that everyone in the family is fed. 74 of those youngsters. This is what I think is really, really neat deal for the community. 74 of those youngsters are packed by the Cedar Creek Assisted Living residents. And the counselor at Hopkins asked me one day, she said, "I'm going to add 4 or 5 families. Do you think that your volunteers can do that?" So I asked them, and their response was, "Bring it on." So it's a joy. Sometimes they will even gather around the table, walkers and wheelchairs, and take a hold of the hands and offer a prayer of thanksgiving that they're able to assist the children in the community. And I just think it's really neat. We've talked to the counselors at both middle schools, and we're prepared in September to start the middle schools. We have some children who obviously are leaving 5th grade and going on into middle school, and we will continue those programs for those kids that have been on it, but we're ready to move up to more children.
Fantastic. That's incredible. For folks that are in the audience today or watching from home and maybe learning for the first time about Helping Hands or want to help more, you certainly have a website, helpinghands.org.
Yes, we do.
They can also come by the Methodist Church.
They could come by the Methodist Church. They can contact Dottie and Jerry Eady, 503-625-7744.
7744.
Yep.
Outstanding. Comments from counselors before? Yes.
So used backpacks would be something that you could use to start your program in the fall?
Absolutely, and as we start up this in September, we will need more backpacks. Somehow, they don't all find their way back again.
Yes,
So,
I imagine.
And
food, are there large events during the year that you host? I think you get food from the Give and Gobble, is that correct?
well, we get, for our regular pantry, we get right here in the library is a fantastic food drive. I didn't realize there was so many delinquent readers here in Sherwood, but in lieu of library fines, you can bring food. We usually come down with a Suburban and pick up an entire back of the Suburban full of food every day during that week. The middle schools do the scavenger hunt and the food drives. We do a, pardon?
Yeah.
Cub Scouts.
Cub Scouts, fantastic food drive by the Cub Scouts. The LDS Church does a drive for us. And of course, Give and Gobble. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple, but, and they continue on. We just finished the postal workers, the letter carriers. And now, of course, they're not in Sherwood, they're in Tualatin, but the letter carriers for Sherwood did it, and that food stayed here in Sherwood.
Wonderful.
At the Timbers game, weren't
Yep.
isn't the food on Sunday was collected for
Yeah,
Helping Hands?
yeah, we just picked that up today, Linda.
Outstanding. Counselor?
And I had heard that some high need items for the backpack program were like snack food type items,
Yes.
granola
and-
bars, protein bars.
Exactly, and child-friendly and small put-ups. And the leadership class at the high school They had a food drive this spring, early spring, and collected 200 boxes of food. Not just food, and it was also hygiene, because every so often we'll put in a Ziploc bag that'll have toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap,
Wow.
dental floss, some shampoo.
Well, what an incredible need you're addressing, and generosity of your time and energy for our community and for those in need. We cannot thank you enough. As a small token, we wanted to be able to brag about what you're doing and what the program is doing, but on behalf of the City of Sherwood, the Sherwood City Council, we want to give Jerry and Dottie a certificate of appreciation to you and to Helping Hands on behalf of us, in appreciation of your dedication and public service to the Sherwood community through management and support of these services that you provide. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, start 60.
Next, Mark Christie,
There he is.
hiding in the back row. If you could please come forward. Today, we also want to recognize retiring school board director, Mark Christie. Mark Christie is certainly well known in our community. He's finishing 15 years of hardworking service to our schools, to our children, to our community. And we want to just take a few minutes to recognize that. Again, let the folks at home see your smiling face, since you don't broadcast your meetings. Last week, the school board did a very nice job of, Kevin Noreen read a lengthy synopsis of your tenure in our community and your service. I'd like to highlight a few things, and then give you a chance to say a few words. Mark has had the privilege of serving on the board while all of his children have graduated, and was able to give them their diplomas, which is very unique. He went from early on his tenure of working on the school board and the city fighting, suing each other, to then partnering, putting aside differences, finding areas of ways to work together to maximize community resources, to put them to the best interest of our families and our children. And you certainly led that charge, continuing to help expand that partnership, think outside the norm. We've collectively been able to share the story around the state, to the surprise and envy of many cities and school districts, and certainly want to thank you for all your hard work with that. You have been, in my opinion, a very good mentor for the new school board members as they came on and others retired. And they were always referred to, well, who knows what they referred to you, but certainly the more senior board member. But you did a great job of helping them come on board and always build a team. In that time, you and your board hired 3 fantastic superintendents, hit home runs again and again and again, that understood Sherwood's philosophy of working together, not fighting each other, working for the best interest of our kids, and making sure that your conservative fiscal nature to make sure that dollars were accounted for. You were the point person from the board with the latest major bond, not a small task, and you attended lots and lots and lots of meetings and asked lots of questions. We certainly got a lot of input and feedback from the community along the way, and that extra effort, we want to recognize and thank you for doing that. I wonder if it's a few other things. At the meeting, former school board members came and expressed their gratitude and appreciation. Former Superintendent Dan Jamison was there, shared and expressed his appreciation. And that was certainly great to see at the lasting impression, respect that they all have for the generosity of your time that you gave to our community. I want to let other counselors maybe say a few words and then let you say a few things before we let you go off to the sunset to bigger and better things. Other counselors? Counselor?
As a citizen, I really appreciated your work with the last large construction project because I know that it's the first time in my watching the government wheels turn that we came in with money left over.
Yeah.
And I know you were a pit bull and a watchdog over the citizens' dollars. And I don't think a lot of people really realized how involved you were in that process. But because it had been something that had concerned me in the past, I really took note and watched, and I appreciated it greatly. I have to say, you look really tan and relaxed. and I'm grateful that you have that opportunity to do that now, because 15 years is a long time. And you could have easily stepped down when your last child graduated, and yet you kept going because you saw other things needed to be wrapped up. So I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Robin.
Great. Anyone else like to say anything? Oh.
I'll just say that, in my time, which is 9 or 10 years, I even coming on board for me, it was the stories of some of the animosity that were even becoming history then, and I've enjoyed a lot of years of I think the relationships between our organizations getting better and better all the time, and you've been the face of that the whole time, and I really appreciate that. We talk about it like it was yesterday, but it is getting to have been a long time ago that we've done battle with each other over one thing or another, and stuff that I think we've all forgotten what it was, or at least mostly what it was. And,
before any of us were involved.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I was just hearing stories even then, and
Oh, my God.
so I just you've been part of that, and it's gotten better, and boy, I think you deserve a lot of credit for that. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mark?
Is that? Oh, there we go. So, as you all know, I've been blessed to and privileged to, serve the community for the last 15 years. And as we've talked at many of our meetings, it's all about team. It's all about building relationships, transparency, the responsibility that we have to be wise stewards of the money. And in our case, as students, we've been entrusted to that each student in Sherwood have the best educational opportunity individually. And I think, we've gone a long way to accomplish that. Are we done? Absolutely not. Can we do better? Absolutely we can. You all, the relationships that we've built together as a team, I know will continue on. We'll continue to look for unique ways to serve the tax base that we serve, which in a lot of cases is very, very similar, and we'll keep doing that better and better. So I want to thank you for the relationships that you've developed, and I just encourage you, as I've done my board members, continue that on. It's the right thing to do. We can continue to be that model in that place that people want to come, not run away from, and that's what's unique about Sherwood. Your accessibility, I think that's one of the keys to Sherwood's livability and likability and lovability, is that you all and we all and our friends at the police department, all the other departments, are very accessible. Nobody runs away from the public. And I think that that's a key to a lot of the success we enjoy. So thank you all for what you guys do too. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Before you walk away, we do have something to give you, and I'll read it. It's a certificate of appreciation presented to Mark Christie, Board of Directors, Sherwood School District 88J. On behalf of the City of Sherwood and the Sherwood City Council, in appreciation of your leadership, devotion, and public service to the Sherwood School District and the Sherwood community. Thank you very much, Mark. Great. It's not on the agenda, but one late addition. Someone we'd like to recognize is an individual who was asked and voluntarily agreed to step up into a role with a lot of work involved. A lot of challenges just to try to get up to speed and a lot of tasks to do in a limited time to do it. And that person is our wonderful Tom Pessimer. For the last 8 months, he has stepped up to be our city manager pro tem while we did a recruitment process to find our next city manager, and he'll start next week. But before that happens, we wanted to take a minute and thank Tom for the big task of running the city on behalf of the community and the council during that time. And also, as part of that, want to acknowledge all of the city staff who also stepped up and worked hard to get through budget. I mean, first time in the role, went through the budget very successfully, smoothly. Very appreciative of the budget committee and city council. Still addressing development projects in town, helping to support the council and advocating a lot of issues outside of town to hopefully to the betterment of our community. The list of additional tasks and things that you willingly took on, and not because we gave him a huge raise. Per our employment manual, he got a 5% bump for a whole lot of work. On behalf of the community and city council, we really want to thank you for that. And we're happy for you and that you're going to be going back to the community development director job, because you certainly do an outstanding job with that. You know, we never would have tasked you with the opportunity of being the pro tem if we didn't know your skills, and we know you're going to do a great job, continue to do a great job for Sherwood, and your heart is with Sherwood, and we're very, very appreciative. Before I give you a certificate, I think a couple other counselors might want to say a few things.
Yeah, I'll say, Mayor, you took part of the words out of my mouth, because you took this role at a window of time that's the hardest time, and that is, in my opinion, putting together a budget to which all the 14 members of the budget committee will agree, and then we will agree to later, and I would say it was about as smooth as the budget cycle could have gone, and you get
While having
credit
big
for that,
cuts.
and it was, and at the same time, yeah, absolutely, it was a smooth budget cycle for us. But it was also one where tough decisions had to be made, and it took a lot of character to do that, and we really, really appreciate it and recognize that. And at the same time, keeping relationships with the Main Street program and the stuff you do in Old Town and throughout town. She did a great job. Very much appreciated.
Robin?
I really appreciate all the work you've done. I just talked to you before the meeting about our joint session with SERPAC and how far I think we've come in getting really good, detailed information. And you have not warmed this seat for 1 minute. You have worked very hard, and you stepped up and did things that I think really amazed us all as far as your leadership. And it was really a joy to have worked with you. I appreciate your open door, your transparency and everything, your communication with council, and just the appreciation that you didn't just wait. You went ahead with hard things. You didn't leave a lot of things for the next guy to deal with. And I really appreciate that. It took character, but it also took a great deal of courage, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much, and I'm very excited to keep working with you.
Councilor Clark?
I just want to add, I have thoroughly enjoyed working with Tom, and I don't ever want to not work with you, but I also wanted to say that you not only took on the additional tasks, but you did a wonderful job with 2 major projects, working with the Cannery Plaza, closing of that, and working with the community center, building that up, getting that going. And so you never for 1 second neglected the community development aspect of it, went 100% on that and still went 100% on the city director. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in and say that I am really awed by the amount of work you were able to accomplish and still keep everybody working together and taken care of. So I really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor?
Well, all the other counselors speak my mind. Tom, you did an exceptional job carrying the ball. There was a seamless transition, and I really don't think it could have been done much better. So, and my hat's off to you. You did a great job. Thank you for taking care of things. Appreciate it.
Great.
I would just probably one last thing to add. During this 8 months where there was a tremendous amount of work done, as Councilor Clark has brought up, and managing the city, running the budget, the one thing that I think stands out most to me was Tom's ever availability. If you needed to meet with him, if you needed to call him, I remember times on the weekend I would send him a note, can you follow up with me next week? Only he wouldn't follow up next week, he would follow up in 5 minutes. And that's a very difficult task when you have 7 of us up here, in addition to the 18, almost 19,000 people who live here. And so throughout that transition and going forward, I think that is one of your most admirable qualities is people feel like they can really come to you and you're available to them and that you listen and that you understand their concerns and try to give them, when you respond to them, the whole picture of why we do things or why we don't do things. And I think in the past, some of that expanded explanation wasn't always given. And so I appreciate that and how available you were to us during that time. And we know you were all working very many hours, including your staff and all the staff at the city. So thank you, Tom.
So forgive us for taking the opportunity to embarrass you a little bit and show some appreciation for your hard work and the entire Sherwood team, certainly. And I know that you'll accept this kind of in that vein as well. But let me read what we want to give you. It's another nice plaque, certificate of appreciation, presented to Tom Pessimer, Community Development Director, City Manager Pro Tem, on behalf of the City of Sherwood and the Sherwood City Council, in appreciation of your leadership, dedication, and public service to the City of Sherwood as City Manager Pro Tem. Thank you very much, Tom.
We're all going to shake.
I can figure it out.
Good job.
Good. All right, now that was fun. It's great to recognize outstanding people in our community, and they're on every corner. Not all get recognized, but we have a fantastic community, and that's a few of them. Next on our agenda is citizen comments. Time to address council on any item not on our agenda this evening. If you haven't already, there's a form to fill out, and you can fill it out before or after. Have one so far. Our clause.
This is ministerial to the city clerk. Recorder, will you correct your minutes so they're accurate? I'll send you an email confirming that. I want to thank you because we're now proceeding on administrative actions, and we will on everything you do, because we believe it's being done properly. But let me tell you something that Ms. Murphy just turned over that. Are you aware that you have been given more power to Barry, Elsner, and Hammond than the council has and the city manager has? You've done something, frankly, we've never seen it done before. If a business did it or a union did it, they laughed you out of existence. At least somebody turn that timer on that. We're going to go over and I'm not timing.
So you're at 30 seconds.
Thank you. What?
You're at 30 seconds in.
Leave it to you, Keith.
I try to help.
Not much help, but you're pretty good at that. Now, the reason I tell you this is because Barry Elser and Hammond can talk to city employees, make public policy, and then they can meet with you as your attorney. Now, I didn't think that was true, but we've now got all of their contracts, if you want to call them that, and it is true. They are your attorney, they are your contract attorney. Now, where that gets to be interesting is they can also talk to the employees of the city, and you can't. Because if you've said to city employees, you need to resign. Read your charter. Now, let me tell you what makes it more interesting than that. We just have a document admitting your staff and Barry Elser and Hammond violated civil rights. It's phenomenal. Now, we're going to take the steps to sort out who did that. Whether the staff did it, and according to the employee manual, you'll have to ask the staff to resign at that point. And we'll miss I do. Or you're going to have to ask them to. Because you've got an absolute admission in your own paperwork that you violated First Amendment rights. And now you're going back and changing them to do this. Now, let me tell you why this is interesting. The first case I worked on that got to the Supreme Court got there on non-conforming uses. I have never heard anything as ridiculous in my life as attempting to say it's conforming, now it's non-conforming, then at a period it becomes illegal non-conforming. You have created illegal uses that you've issued permits for, and you're now telling us you're going to correct it by admitting you violated civil rights. I can't thank you enough, because as people are starting to see these documents, it's gotten more and more interesting. And the other thing is, as you do your traffic, keep it off of our property, because next time you put that cedar wood trap on our property in the building envelopes, you're going to buy that property. And don't tell me you didn't do it. Metro finally got it off with their attorneys and all. But it's these little careless things you do that are starting to be amusing. I have never in my life seen anybody admit they violated civil rights. And their attorneys reviewed it and then proceeded to come back and try to correct it. Really remarkable. Now, if we can just keep moving on these codes so that we can get these administrative remedies exhausted, then we can learn which of you are responsible for this. And I'm sure you're both carrying errors and omissions policies.
Great. Anyone else like to give citizen comment today? Seeing none, we will close this, move on to the next item of business. New business. Resolution 2012-034, approving amendments to City of Sherwood Employee Manual. Anna Lee, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before we proceed, I just want, we noted we need to modify the agreement that we gave you with the red lines. We had a little issue with the red lines. So 3.17 on page 20 of the revised version.
Say that again, please.
We're needing to just update
I
the
know,
revisions.
But the page number.
Oh, okay. It's page 20.
Page 80 of your packet.
80?
Correct.
Okay. And it's disciplinary actions, 3.17 of the employee manual.
Yeah.
There is an error, and this should be removed. 3.17, all of that was updated and is addressed in 3.18, which will now be 3.17.
So is Do we need to, is it better to continue this to the next meeting, or should this be addressed today?
I was going to see if we could just address this today as a modification. It's a duplicate section, the
Okay.
disciplinary action and disciplinary action. It
So-
just wasn't redlined properly.
So essentially, though, you'll be saying remove, so it's not in the non-red line version proper. This is the non-red line version. Okay. All right. We'll
Want me to proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So what you have before you today is a resolution asking the mayor and council to update the amendments that are before you for the employee manual. Basically, what we've done is we reviewed them with legal counsel, and we've updated them in regards to updated employment law and best business practices for administrative purposes. So we streamlined the employee manual. This is kind of phase number one of us reviewing all best business practices for all business units of the city. So as we said before, the red line version was to provide you with what was the old and then the updated one. The old version did go through steps, and it was very similar to our union contracts, which is really not necessary in regards to best business practices for an employee manual. So what we've done is we streamlined it, and we've given the employees the same benefits as well as the city, legal benefits, but just streamlined it so that it doesn't give 5 steps like a union contract would. So that's basically what we presented for you to review today. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Annalee? Great, thank you. Tom, do you agree we should just make the note of the error and modify the?
Yes, this is resolutions that would be perfectly fine. Just note the removal of section 3.17 and rename section 3.18 to 3.17, and that was an error. I believe it was actually something I did so at the very last second. So my apologies, but it should not have been in the document.
Okay, questions or discussion from council?
I have some questions.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Councilor?
So I just have a couple suggestions and a couple clarifications. On page 31 of our packet, which is page 14 of 42 of your section, under layoffs, under 3.4.1, you use the word abolishment, and I would recommend the word elimination instead of abolishment. Abolishment seems like unless you have a particular reason you're using abolish.
It has been updated for a while, Linda. So we're working on sections, and this was the most predominant section we wanted to update. So I'll make notes of that. So
Okay.
the next section.
Just a
will-
suggestion.
Yeah,
It just seems
that's great.
more modern.
Yep.
We're,
Since we eliminate positions in the budget, it just seemed like a best practices to use
Sure.
that word
Sure.
consistently.
Right. And we believe that there's a significant number of sections in here that need to be reviewed
Okay.
and done. So it wouldn't surprise me if you found other places, but we were really just addressing the disciplinary actions
Okay.
and termination section as a first cut, and then as a second phase, we'll be looking at the rest of the document.
Okay,
And I'll make note of that. Thank you.
thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Not on
No, on this section?
disciplinary, no. Other sections, yes.
So first, I would move that we amend.
It's page 60.
You got page 60?
Oh, no, 317 should become.
Yes.
Well, you don't remove 318. 318 becomes 317, replaced with the new language.
That's correct.
I don't know how to make that motion.
So I'll move that of the revised language that we delete section 317 disciplinary actions, which is on page 20 and 2021 and start of 22. Delete that and then renumber the disciplinary actions, which is currently 3.18 to then 3.17. and appropriate from there. So that's my motion to amend.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Is the motion clear as mud?
We have
Standing. All in favor of the motion to amend the Exhibit A of Resolution 2012-034? I love repeating motions, but it's important. Deleting Section 3.17 disciplinary actions on page 20, 21, and the start of 22 of Exhibit A, and renumber the next section, which is currently 3.18 disciplinary actions on start of 22, and renumber that to 3.17, etc. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have an amended Exhibit A to the resolution. Do I have a motion on the amended resolution and exhibit?
Move to approve Resolution 2012-034 as amended.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of approving the motion, approving Resolution 2012-034, approving amendments to the City of Sherwood Employee Manual as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Annalee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is public hearings. I believe we are going to open it and continue it. Is that what I understand?
I don't think so.
Then we're not. I apologize. Michelle. First, Sylvia, we got to read into the record for this ordinance.
No, I don't.
You don't need to because
It was
Continued.
outstanding. The public hearing has been opened and it's been closed. And Michelle.
Okay, I've got a lot of little things to. There we go. Okay. Can you see that in your monitors?
I can.
Great.
And the rest of council can.
Yep.
So that's not working. Okay. Okay. So we were last here on June 5th, and we held a hearing regarding parking area landscaping and layout on Ordinance 2012-08. The City Council heard from staff and took public testimony at that time, and then they closed the public hearing and you began your deliberations. Council in general supported the Planning Commission recommendation that was before you, but we had a few issues with respect to some of the metro requirements and requested staff to investigate and provide further information on several issues. Council continued the hearing till tonight in order to address the following: residential minimum parking requirements, carpool and vanpool parking for employees, and the calculation of the number of trees in parking areas. So first, taking a look at the residential parking minimums.
I'm so not going to do this today.
Metro has a requirement of a maximum minimum parking requirements. Jurisdictions cannot have a higher maximum than the Metro requirement. To refresh your memory, a single-family dwelling unit is required to have at least one parking space, and with multifamily, the number of parking spaces required are based on the number of bedrooms in the particular unit. We had a glaring example in our community where those minimum standards did not give us the parking needs for a particular site. So taking a look at that with Metro, they agreed with us that jurisdictions could exclude garages from the minimum calculation for parking requirement.
May I interrupt? Did you just say we're not allowed to have a higher maximum than the metro requirement?
A higher minimum maximum. So for example, if Metro required 2 parking spaces minimum, we could not say, well, Sherwood for single family needs 3 parking spaces.
Oh.
So we couldn't exceed the maximum, the minimum with a higher
maximum
number.
for what our minimum can be.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So in this case, for single family, it's 1 unit. We couldn't say for single family we require 2 parking spaces.
Okay, thank you. That makes a lot more sense.
So in addition, we had proposed a visitor parking requirement for multifamily units, and they agreed with us that they have no provision with respect to visitor parking, so would take no position on whether we would to forward that recommendation. So based on the discussion last time, staff proposes to change Exhibit 1A on page 131 of the information in last week's packet.
I mean, we're going to go, I support certainly going through this, but I'm not going to support doing anything today. But because I want to look at the whole thing in its entirety. And because I thought that's what we were going to be doing. So
Okay, sure.
just my 10 cents right at this point. And see if, I don't know what council wants to do or not, but.
So on page 131 of Exhibit 1A, 169410, the general requirements for parking, in number E, location. What I've done is the existing language is in white and the proposed language is in orange underlined. So in that section, it formerly had said residential off-street parking shall be located on the same lot or development as the residential use. So that I've broken that out and added the provision shall not include garages or enclosed buildings with the exception of a parking structure in multifamily developments where spaces are not individually enclosed. That'd be an example of underground or multi-level parking structures. And
So the flaw with that suggestion is there might, in a multifamily development, they might, instead of having a single space enclosed, they might do a double wide, and therefore then it counts.
So that would count as a parking space if it was enclosed,
And doubled.
the multi-level parking structure. So an example, we're thinking,
I know, so I understand your example, and I apologize for interrupting, but I'm gonna, would not a two-car garage in a multifamily unit be counted towards parking with that definition?
in a multi-family, because we say individually enclosed. So if they had two parking
I'm just thinking of
spaces.
workarounds that people might suggest that I would want to personally avoid.
Okay.
So anyways, we'll continue, if you would.
The thinking is if they were going to have underground parking, that we wouldn't want to, that we could likely include that for a parking space, because the likelihood that they would use a garage for storage is less if it's individually enclosed. And so if there were multi-level parking structures or underground parking, that could count for parking if the space would warrant it.
Sure. And Mayor, I understand your concern, and we'll work on tightening this language up. And we just learned about this from Metro, I think, yesterday. So this is all new information for us, and we're trying really quickly to get at least something before you tonight for your consideration, so you can see what it would look like. But we'll work on tightening the language up, and it looks like some people on the council want to potentially continue this, and that'll give us time to do that if we do that.
Great. And that section covers all housing zoning other than downtown?
So that's residential minimum parking.
Right. All zones other than the downtown, which is treated differently.
Anything residential. So
Okay.
would it exclude, but
Yes, it
downtown,
includes single family and multifamily.
Mhm.
Right.
residential.
But we have an existing different parking standard for Old Town than the rest of town.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. So moving on to the second issue, carpool and van pool parking. Metro requires car and van pool parking designation for businesses that employ over 20 workers. They agreed that there was no specific percentage required for carpool or van pool spaces. So based on that discussion, the proposed amended language could be found on page 131 as well. E, under location 3A, strike at least 2% of the required parking spaces for. So the amended language would say, all new development with 20 employees or more shall include preferential spaces for either carpool and van pool designation. Next, moving on to the number of trees in the parking areas. So the proposed language includes a provision for a certain number of trees in the parking area based on the number of parking spaces. Council felt that that might result in too many trees for a site, so they asked staff to investigate the inclusion of street trees in the number of required trees for the parking areas. So based on that discussion, the proposed amended language could be found on page 126, B2A. In the definition provision, strike or as street trees per chapter 16142, parks, trees, and open space. And then on page 127, add under number 4, sub 2, street trees may be included in the calculation for the number of required trees in the parking area. So the next steps, and staff recommends that the City Council adopt the proposed changes as revised or direct staff to investigate refining the language with respect to the garage requirement. And motion number 1, modifying the Exhibit 1A to reflect the revisions identified through tonight's discussion. And finally, motion to adopt ordinance 2012-008. And I'll take any questions anyone has.
Questions? Thank you, Michelle, very much. Appreciate the hard work and certainly reaching out to our Metro partners with our concerns, and was very, very pleased to see that we are able to do what at least my suggestion is, and I'm looking at my calendar, I apologize. But I'd like to suggest to council that we continue ordinance 2012-008, off-street parking on an on-site. That is not the full ordinance name. Ordinance 2012-008, an ordinance amending multiple sections of the Zoning and Community Development Code relating to landscaping, off-street parking, and loading requirements to a date certain, specifically the July 17th, 2012 City Council meeting.
Apologies for not being here earlier.
Sorry.
Oh, I guess I'm out of order. Go ahead if there's a second.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion on the motion to continue. Discussion?
Well, I wasn't here at the last meeting. Is there a reason that do you have an objection? Could you describe your objection to doing something
Great
tonight?
question. Because everything came so late to from Metro, that I really thought that was what we would be doing, but staff was great to do the work they did yesterday and today. I just want council to make sure they have the full text of the code in front of them to refresh their memory if they have any other concerns. And then specifically with the suggested changes, I'd like tightening up of the language for the parking section, just so that we remove a potential loophole for multiple parking spaces that could be considered still as storage. That's my rationale. Any other comment on the motion?
I don't see any harm.
All in favor of the motion to continue ordinance 2012-008, an ordinance amending multiple sections of the Zoning and Community Development Code relating to landscaping, off-street parking, and loading requirements to July 17th, 2012 City Council meeting? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Michelle. City manager and staff department reports.
Well, I don't have any formal report to give, but I just want to take a minute to thank a lot of people. Being a city manager pro tem, talking to a number of people in the region, it can go one way or another, and for me, it went very well. And that had a lot to do with just all the support that I received from the community, from business owners, from council, from board and commission members, but most importantly from the city staff. I mean, just a bunch of very, very, very good and talented people that work here at the city. And, you know, my community development staff really stepped in a big hole. They're not all here tonight, but, you know, I appreciate Councilor Clark's remarks of how smoothly community development went, but it went well because of their hard work as well. So I just want to say thank you to you all in particular, and to the staff at the city of Sherwood, just for all their help and support during this, because without them it would be impossible. And you know, like I said, I've just talked to enough other people to know that if you don't have a good staff and the support of the community and the council, and it does not go well. And so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You're very welcome. But yeah, it goes to you and staff. Council announcements. Counselor?
I just have one announcement and one reminder. My first announcement is I'm honored to serve on the board of the Sherwood Foundation for the Arts, and we have Wizard of Oz coming up next month. And since we don't meet again until almost the week before the show opens, I'm going to put one plug in. The show is the 26th, 27th, and 28th of July. It's down in Still Olson Park, which we're having record challenges providing such a complex show in an outdoor setting. But it's always a challenge, and it's always very rewarding. So if you're interested in seeing live outdoor theater, and the weekend before, the VPA is doing a show that maybe Councilor Folsom can give some more details, down in the same venue, and we're partnering, sharing costs, sharing security, which is similar to what former board member Mark Christie said we've done with the school district for years. And so that same philosophy, you know, I think is something many organizations in town adopt willingly, and saves everybody money. So I just want to put in a plug for that. And then secondly is, of course, 4th of July is coming up, and want to remind residents and visitors that illegal fireworks are illegal. The term is illegal, meaning if they're not purchased in Oregon, then they're illegal. And a few years ago, one of my neighbors on our street lit off an illegal firework and caught a tree on fire right next door to a home. And fortunately, you know, a garden hose was readily available and that tree was put out. But there is many ways to enjoy the 4th of July. With fireworks that you can purchase right here in town that support many groups who sell fireworks. And just want to remind folks that we have a very committed enforcement of illegal fireworks in our town. And I don't believe, unless Captain Daniel wants to elaborate on something I'm not aware of, that we'll continue to enforce that and try to make that an educational process, and to encourage people, you know, not to purchase fireworks. There was a large I don't know if it's in a supplement in the Argonian that was a combination of many public service agencies encouraging people not to buy illegal fireworks for reasons of, you know, safety, security, property loss, pet, you know, frightening of pets. And just want to remind people to have fun and be safe in our town. And unless Captain Daniel wants to comment, I just want to remind people to have fun, but be safe.
Great. Thank you, Councilor.
I really don't have a whole lot to add. You said it very well, Councilor. And I would just like to, I guess, overemphasize what you already said, was that, you know, the illegal fireworks belong where they're legal, and they don't belong here. And there's tremendous, you know, peril involved with lighting all those fireworks off and creating property damage and injury. And it's something our community can't afford. So we will be taking our normal steps to make sure that we do our part to make this a safe and sane 4th of July.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Counselor?
If you haven't ordered your new paver for going in front of the community center, get in touch with Angie Ford down at Sherwood Main Street. She's located in the chamber office. which is on the same street between the old Blackbird Coffee and Clancy's. And anyway, it's a good way to get your name in granite in the community for a long time.
Excellent. Counselor?
So Counselor Henderson alluded to the fact that we are doing a production the weekend of the Robin Hood Festival, actually. The Robin Hood Festival, the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission, the Sherwood Foundation for the Arts, and the Voices for the Performing Arts Foundation all joined together and received a grant called Arts Builds Communities from the Oregon Arts Commission and Oregon Cultural Trust. And it is a wonderful event that we hope will grow to be part of the tradition of the Robin Hood Festival. It'll be a gated admission for children, $10 in the park. They will get many wonderful craft and arts opportunities, as well as seeing a beautiful Sherwoodian version of Sleeping Beauty called True Love's Tale. And families are welcome, $5 for adults, $10 for children. There probably will be a family price if you come with a family as large as mine. But I just have to throw out a thank you to the Senior Center for allowing us to practice and rehearse there pretty much every day of the week for the next 4 weeks. And Teresa, the director there, has been just a joy. And it's thrilling, actually, to go into the Marjorie Stewart Senior Center and use it for such a fun community purpose. But the children that we're targeting that'll really probably enjoy this and come to be prince and princesses and knights and maids are probably in the age of 3 to 12. And if you are older than that, what we'd love to have is some volunteers to help us help those little hands with crafts and activities. The event starts at 6:30 in Stella Olson right after the knighting ceremony.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. And so yes, Robin Hood Festival is coming around the corner, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Our 2-day community celebration and take on Robin Hood. A lot of fun for the entire family. Let's see. Any other announcements from councilors? The one thing I'll add is Greater Portland Inc., which we're a part of, celebrated their 1-year anniversary after combining the regional partners public entity with the private entity of Greenlight Greater Portland, and doing a lot of great things on economic development for the region, and very positive first year, and to the point that many members reinvested up their donation and attracted some new members to launch a new branch and export strategy to help grow exports from our region, in addition to growing existing businesses and attracting businesses to our region. So Sean Robbins, who's the executive director, I'm trying to get on his calendar so he can come out and talk about Greater Portland Inc. for and what the value is for Sherwood to participate. I'm fortunate I serve on the board representing 9 small cities, so that the small cities are getting a voice in economic opportunities. And the big benefit, which he'll detail when we're able to get him out here, is having all of those cities and the bigger cities, because every big city is involved, participate in the monthly economic development professionals meetings, which enables everyone to be pointing in the same direction on the public and the private side, and it's a really exciting thing. So I want to share positive, because we contribute a few $1,000s annually to it, and so we want to know where how those dollars are being spent and the return on our community. With that, we are adjourned until July 17th. Everyone have a wonderful, safe 4th of July.
So we just funded